Coming up on this week's Eastern Conference edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, the Florida Panthers have won 8 in a row. Is it sustainable? Plus, the big trade from Monday is now going to take part on the ice with Jamie Drysdale set for his Flyers debut. We'll get into all that plus NHL All-Star voting on today's edition of the Locked On NHL podcast. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to the Locked On NHL podcast. It's your team every day. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Mike DiStefano. You can find me 5 days a week over at Locked On Ottawa Senators. And this is the Battle of Ontario edition because Mikey's over at Locked On Maple Leafs. A reminder that this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers in the U.S. get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started today. You can also follow the show on social media and on YouTube, where a subscription, comment, they all go a long way to helping the show grow. We are also free and available on your favorite podcast platform. Today is Wednesday, January 10th, and Mikey, your team, my team, going in two different directions. So that FanDuel offer, don't bet on the Ottawa Senators, but the Leafs, different story. 4 straight win for the boys in blue.
Yeah, I mean, fading the Ottawa Senators has been a decent option of late. Fading the San Jose Sharks, too, who are just a brutal team. Are they making their way through Ottawa soon? Because I know they got Toronto, and then they got Montreal, they got Ottawa coming up.
Saturday, baby. Feel the excitement.
Hey, dude, that's going to be maybe the worst hockey game of all time. It's going to be terrible.
Perfect for a 4 o'clock Eastern start on a Saturday afternoon. They're giving them the matinee treatment, but not even the 1 o'clock slate. They're like, you know what? Let's put you at 4. Just hide it. Just hide it. Keep it away from us. Man, this is the stat, and this is the only time I want to talk about the Ottawa Senators on this show, because I've had more than up to here with this team. When leading after 2 periods on the road, Mikey, they're 3-3 this season.
That's terrible. That's just, man. I feel for you, Rossi.
I know that's the problem. People aren't even chirping us anymore because we like getting in the mix on Twitter and having some fun and having pushback with other teams. So I expected to get it back. People literally just feel bad for them.
Well, it's been a few weeks now. Like, have you seen any difference in the way the team's playing under the new coach? Like, that was the plan, right? When they, swapped out DJ Smith, they bring in the name's escaping me, the old man. Yeah, they bring in Jacques Martin. Like, have you seen, improvements at least in the game? Has it worked at all?
In different ways. Like one day they'll be playing better defensively and the power play is brutal, and then the power play scored last night. They win the special teams battle finally, and then they fall apart, collapse defensively. The title of today's Locked On Senators is it time to make a major trade? Like, they moved the GM, they moved the coach. Like, at this point, it kind of lays at the feet of the players and the core. And we saw a big trade though on Monday. So we'll get into all that. But to answer your question, I've seen some changes, but not enough. And honestly,
who's the guy you think? Who's the guy that, like, to try and shake up that squad? Like, who's the dude who they do need to move on from?
Well, they've got their $8 million men, which is what we're calling them. I guess in Toronto it's the $10 million club, but in Ottawa they've got a lot of guys
try $11 million club.
Well, with Ottawa right now, like, the 2 guys who've been underperforming for the longest to me are Josh Norris and Thomas Chabot. They're both kind of coming off injuries too, and what's their value? So it comes down to that. Like, to me, I'm not ready to give up on, like, the top dogs, although they're the ones who are struggling the most. Tim Stützle has 1 goal in his last 10 games. He's on pace for like 17 goals, dude. I was hammering 40-plus goals. He scored 39 last year. He's been just horrible. Like, he just has not played well. Still leads the team in points, though, so it's kind of funny when it works out like that. And Brady Tkachuk, like, I just need to see him in a playoff game in Ottawa. This is year 6, dude. Like, this is It's a long time where it's just been an absolute disaster. They are 11-11 when scoring first this year, Mike. You give them a 1-goal lead to start the game. Give them a head start, 1-goal head start,
They're
and they're
500.
500.
It's tough, man. That's tough.
Only
Hey,
team,
it's
only
the
team
Eric
in the
Carlson
NHL.
curse.
Yeah, only team in the NHL without a loser point either. Not one. Not a single loser point because they decide to collapse in regulation like they did. 4 goals against in the third period last night. All right, I'm done. I'm done with that conversation. We will get into some trade talk, though, in the next segment. But I want to hear about your Leafs, man. 4 straight wins. They get Nylander signed. You guys had a lot of great takes on that over at Locked On Maple Leafs, where it's like, yeah, the player's worth it, but does it fit into the cap structure of this team and all that? But, man, what's causing the Leafs to have so much success right now?
It's a combination of things, I believe. First and foremost, like who would have thunk that in 2024 I'd be saying this, but Martin Jones has been a revelation for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like this guy's played some excellent hockey. He's allowed 5 goals in his last 5 games. He shut out the LA Kings when he rolled into LA. But this team's just playing complete hockey. They're playing extremely well defensively as a unit. They're playing 200 feet and they're playing 60 minutes and they're playing hard. All right. So they're defending. And I think this team is just dominating games right now. Granted, the last few games, they've clearly not played very well or played very good teams. Like they had a back-to-back in San Jose and then they played Anaheim, but they shut out the LA Kings in their first game on the California road trip. So that's an impressive win. Going forward, they've got a couple of tough games. They've got the Islanders coming. Actually, they're going into New York to play the Islanders tomorrow. And then they got a back-to-back against the Avalanche and Red Wings this weekend. So a bit more tougher opponents where I guess you could sit there and say, okay, they played well defensively against the bad teams. Let's see what they can do against, better teams, playoff teams. So I'm excited for this weekend to see what, the Maple Leafs have and to see if they can just continue to play this way. Because look, I've been saying it for years. I think this team's better when they grind out a 3-1, 4-1, 3-2 win than when they try and, win a game 6-4. So I like the way that they've been playing. It's extremely fun to watch. It's playoff hockey. It's low scoring, grinded out playoff hockey. But when they got game breakers, you see what happens last night. They defend well. That defense turns to offense, and they end up putting up a bunch of goals and blowing teams out like they did against San Jose. But ultimately, at least they're in a good spot. Like you said, they're currently on a 4-game winning streak, and they're not. You could say they're chasing down, I guess, like the possibility of winning a division, but then you have also got the Florida Panthers who've won 8 in a row as well. So there's 3 teams out there in the Atlantic right now, I guess, who are still vying for that top spot in the division. But things are good right now in Leafland. And yeah, like you said, Nylander just signed his deal as well. You can look at it 2 ways. Nylander's a great player. It's great that he's going to be around for the next 8 years. He's going to be a very good player for the Maple Leafs over that 8-year span for the most part. But like you said, can you fit another $11 million man into this team's cap structure? Like he's going to be the 5th highest paid player in the NHL next year in terms of AAV. And when you look at the top 10, they've got 4 of them. 4 of the top 10 players as of this moment next year when it comes to AAV. And those 4 guys make up 53% of the Maple Leaf salary cap. So can you win that way? Well, they haven't done it yet. They're doubling down on that, that mantra again. So we'll see what comes of it. So it's a little bittersweet that signing.
But a team that has known to be an offensive juggernaut has clamped down defensively, only allowing 3 goals in their last 4 games. The trip through California and then coming back to beat the San Jose Sharks 7-1. For more on the Toronto Maple Leafs, go check out Locked On Maple Leafs wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. But the Florida Panthers, that's a story in the Eastern Conference right now. My goodness, 8 straight wins, and they're doing a lot of it on the road as well. So we'll get into what's been the reasons behind their success and Jamie Drysdale's debut for the Flyers. And the Flyers right now sitting 3rd in the Metropolitan. Really impressive. How much does Jamie Drysdale move the needle for them to continue their push towards the Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll have all those conversations next. You're listening to Locked On NHL, your team every day.
Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use. There's so many different ways that you can make a bet. Live same-game parlays. You can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub to find the best and most popular ones of the day. You can find bets in the new Explore tab, and so many more. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, the official partner of the Locked On Network.
All right, Mike, welcome back. It's Locked On NHL, your team every day. We've got local experts on the biggest stories. You can make sure to subscribe on YouTube to know when every show goes live. We're also free and available on your favorite podcast platforms. I'm already starting to check out Locked On NHL prospects because, it's been that kind of year in Ottawa. A lot of people in Philadelphia thought it was going to be that type of year as well, but instead they make a move half out of necessity, but it's also helping them now. They trade 5th overall pick Cutter Gauthier from 2022, who had indicated he had no interest in ever signing with Philadelphia. Heck, he wouldn't even talk to them at the World Juniors, according to GM Daniel Briere. They send him to Anaheim in exchange for a 2nd-round pick in 2025 and former 6th overall pick from 2020 defenseman Jamie Drysdale. Drysdale slides right into the lineup, expected to make his debut tonight in Montreal. Mike, is this the type of move where you think will move the needle for the Flyers this year?
I don't know if it moves the needle this year. Like Jamie Drysdale, I think, is a good player and he's going to be a good player, but there's some warts in his game, especially on the defensive side of the puck. And, now he's got John Tortorella, who's definitely going to try and get those warts out of his game, or else Jamie Drysdale might not get much playing time, as we've, seen happen a lot throughout John Tortorella's career. But, I've spoken to a lot of guys who've played for Tortorella and, they've indicated that, hey, we think Torts is a great coach. He's good for development, especially young guys, to get their mindset right, to hammer away that there's more than just offense. And for a guy like Jamie Drysdale, where that's his bread and butter as a blue liner, this could be good for him. I believe it was Rasmus Ristolainen, who's been there for a couple of years now, but has really over the last 2 seasons kind of, changed his game and taken it to the next level. And he's finally realizing that potential of a first round pick that they saw many years at Buffalo. And, he came out and he said, I wish I had Torts when I was younger. Like my career could have been different if I had him. And he's been a great player. Go look at his underlying numbers last 2 years. Ristolainen's been fantastic as a a shutdown defenseman out there in Philadelphia. So do I expect Jamie Drysdale to turn into a shutdown stud defensive defenseman? No, obviously not. But I think it would be good for him. Like, he's got the wheels. He's a terrific skater. He's a right shot. He'll put up points. Very smart kid with the puck. Can make the right decisions in the offensive end. But if he can also learn from Torts, the defensive side of the puck, and, really be receptive to how he can get better in that regard, I think this could be a big time boost for this team going forward. Like he could be could be a top pair guy if that's the case, as a two-way defenseman. So if you're getting a top pair player going forward, he's still only 21. He's still rather young. But over the next, 2, 3, 4, 5 years where the Flyers are expected to come alive and start competing, I think he could be a solid blue liner for you, at minimum, a solid piece of your top 4.
And he missed in his entire sophomore season due to a torn labrum, only played 8 games. If you go back to the one full season that Drysdale was able to play, 81 games, 32 points, and out of those 32 points, 12 of them were on the power play. That's where I think Drysdale will have the most immediate impact. The Philadelphia Flyers are second last in the NHL this year with a 10.8 percentage on the power play. He's going to slide in right on the top unit. He's alongside Owen Tippett, Travis Konechny, Sean Couturier, and Joel Farabee. And I'm excited to watch it. That's going to be fun to see a guy who's making a switch over from west to east. There's going to be a lot more eyeballs here on the East Coast under the time zone. Sometimes those guys get buried away in Anaheim, and obviously not the best team there either. So I'm excited to see that and what he can do on the power play. And man, Philly taking a step in the right direction for sure. They're 20-14-6. Although they've only won 3 games in their last 10 games, at least they're finding ways to get points, right? They've got 3 loser points in that stretch as well. So still 9 points in their last 10 games, which is, not great, but at the same time, for a team that had gotten that head start, they're doing just fine and looking half decent. So I'm excited to see Philly throughout the rest of the year. How do you see this? And just briefly, we'll leave this for a Locked On Anaheim Ducks. We'll leave this for the Western Conference. But what do you think of this move from the Ducks' perspective?
I like it from the Ducks' perspective too. Like, I think this was a weird trade. Like, obviously, Cutter Gauthier forced himself out of Philadelphia. And if you haven't heard the situation, go listen to Locked On Flyers. I guarantee you that they went through this whole situation, but he didn't want to be there, so they moved on from him. And they were still able to get a pretty good asset back in Drysdale in a second-round pick. But look, I think Anaheim's getting a terrific player in Cutter Gauthier. We just watched him tear up the World Junior Championships. He's over at Boston College right now as well this year. He's playing extremely good hockey there. And I think that going forward, you look at that team now down the middle. I mean, they've got Mason McTavish, who's having an incredible season. Leo Carlsson, who was playing great when he was playing. It's been a weird year for him in that regard. Then he got hurt. But now you also add in Cutter Gauthier. Like, you've got yourself some real serious talent up front if you're the Anaheim Ducks. And he's in college right now, so he's not going to be able to help them this season. They're a team that's, in the dumps anyway. But going forward, I like what they're kind of amassing, a good young crop of players. We just talked about the forwards. They've got like 4 stud defensive prospects as well, like Tristan Luneau. They got Mintyukov, who's doing great things already up there, who's a young, like 20-year-old defenseman. They've got Noah Warren, and they've got Olin Zellweger, who was fantastic in the World Juniors for Canada the year prior. So they've got some really good young pieces. Eventually, they're all going to have to start playing. They're going to have to grow together. But I do like this trade. The question is, and it sounds like this trade may, however, have put Trevor Zegras on the block. What do you make of that report?
I'm not the biggest Trevor Zegras, super fan. I know a lot of people really do love his game, and there's a lot of highlights to love about it, but I don't think that he's the type of guy that's going to put you over the top in terms of he's not. Let's put it this way. If it's between him and Elias Lindholm, I'm paying way more to get Lindholm.
Oh, not even close. Not even close. Like, I'm with you, by the way. Like, yeah. I don't want to go as far as to say that like Zegras is a show pony, but he's more skilled or he's more flash than anything. And yeah, he can make those sick plays and Michigans and the Zegras pop pass from behind the net. But when it comes to playing in his own zone, when it comes to, scoring goals regularly, not his forte. He's got like 4 goals in 20 games this year. Not the best.
Now,
he got hurt last night. He got hurt last night. I don't know if you saw it. Went into the boards, was helped off the ice. That probably would put a stall to any trade talks that may have been ongoing.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Pat Verbeek's vision is, because Anaheim, obviously, a lot of young talent. And you mentioned a lot of the players. Don't sleep on that goalie with the big name, Lucas Dostal.
Sorry, a no-name goalie they have? I'm
so
not
funny.
familiar.
That was wild for the Toronto Sun, and then doubling down on it the next day. But hey, they got their clicks out of it, which was obviously what they wanted to do. But Dostal, man, the Senators had 2 prospects on the same team during the COVID pause, where he played in Finland and Eels. This guy was a stud there too. Like he's going to be a goalie, and that also makes you wonder. And I feel like it's the longest. And trust me, I know long drawn out trades. I watched the Erik Karlsson and Mark Stone trades take 2 years each. Yeah. Has anybody been on the trade block longer than John Gibson? I feel like it's been 5 years.
Problem is he's not playing good hockey. So no one wants to bring in a goaltender who just continues to decline. and he's got like
Yeah.
4 years left on that deal too. So that's it's just such a tough contract to trade.
You know who people thought was on the decline? Sergei Bobrovsky. Not anymore. Not so fast. The Florida Panthers have won 8 in a row. Let's get into their brilliance next. You're listening to Locked On NHL, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Jace Medical. Look, the world, it's a scary place out there. But let's talk about real life. According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. This is scary. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than if someone I cared about got sick while a supply chain issue kept them from the life-saving medication they needed. Thankfully, we'll be okay because of Jace Medical. The Jace case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, among others. This stuff could happen to any of us. Visit jacemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It has been reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medication will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today, so go to jacemedical.com and use offer Locked On to get $20 off of your order. Welcome back, Locked On NHL. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Mike DiStefano. Make sure you like and subscribe not only to this show, but all of our great Locked On NHL podcasts, Locked On Maple Leafs, Locked On Ottawa Senators, and the Locked On Florida Panthers, where Armando Velez just has to be enjoying those late nights because that's what it's been for the Florida Panthers. This team just went through Arizona, Vegas, Colorado, St. Louis, and they have not only been winning games, Mikey, they are putting absolute beatdowns night after night. Over their last 8 games, they've scored 36 goals and only allowed 15.
Wild, man. Well, didn't they just crush the Colorado Avalanche like 8-4 also?
Well,
That's a good team, man.
8-4, and then they won 5-1 against St. Louis last night. They beat Vegas, and Vegas is free fall mode. That's another story. Locked On Golden Knights will have that, but they beat Vegas 4-1 on the road in a Stanley Cup final rematch. Like, Arizona's playing good hockey as well. They beat them 4-1. Like, they beat the Rangers at home 4-3. They went into Tampa and won 3-2. Like, it's pretty incredible what they're doing, and they're led by their leader, right? Like, Matthew Tkachuk, he had a bit of a slow start for his standards. My goodness, this guy is playing at the very top of his game right now.
Had a hat trick last night. Little Hattie on the road. Not, he's definitely heating up, and that's a good thing for this Florida Panthers team. But when you said led by their leader, I thought you were going to say Sammy Reinhart. Dude's got 29 goals so far this season. 29 goals on the year for Sam Reinhart. This dude's going to get paid this summer.
Yes, he is, man, and it's going to be deservedly so. But you know why I went with Matty Tkachuk during this 8-game point streak? If you had to guess, how many points do you think Matthew Tkachuk has in his last 8 games?
8 games, I'll say he has 14 points.
17 points to lead the league since December 22nd. This guy is clicking at over 2 points per game, and 10 of those 17 points have come at even strength. It's just an absolute stud out there. And you look at it, though, at the same time, like Aho's number 2 with 16 points in 7 games, although 13 of those being assists. And then William Nylander's in third with 15 points in his last 8 games. But, dude, this Florida Panthers team, man, like, they're just so impressive because it seems like they're getting different contributions every night, even knowing that those top guys are playing the way that they are. You mentioned Sam Reinhart. He's having an incredible year. You always know that you can rely on Sasha Barkov to be playing at his best when it matters most. And over this point streak, man, like, there's some other guys that I want to give some shout outs to, give some shine to. And I mean, also we got to mention Paul Maurice too. Like, he deserves a ton of credit for what's going on there as well.
100%. He's been fantastic. And like Paul Maurice is a good coach. Like, he's one of the best coaches in the NHL, obviously, like taking this ragtag bunch of dudes taking them all the way to a Stanley Cup final last year, and then the amount of injuries too that this team had to start the season, and now they're finally all at a full go with Ekblad back, and with
Montour.
Montour back, and there's been a couple other injuries along the way. They had to kind of ride the wave of Bobrovsky a little bit, and they've gone through all of that, and now they're really firing. Everyone's healthy. They've been back. They're in a groove. I got to give us another shout out to OEL, like Oliver Ekman-Larsson. The guy's got 8 goals, 20 points on the season. Like this is a guy who was really declining in Vancouver year after year, and then all of a sudden they're like, you know what, we just got to buy him out. Like he's not even worth the money at this point. Let's just buy him out. He signed a pretty cheap deal out in Florida. I think it was like $2 million or something like that. He's providing some real stable, like second pair minutes for this team. And interestingly, too, it's much needed because you're not getting much offense out of Brandon Montour or Aaron Ekblad. Both those guys this year, just 1 goal apiece. So pretty well, all your offense from the blue line, from the back end, has come from OEL right now. So that was a big time signing this offseason for them.
How many goals of the 14 points that Alex Barkov has during this win streak do you think are goals?
2.
0.
Huh. It doesn't
Meanwhile, Sam Reinhart's going for the Cy Young Award. He's 11 goals, 1 assist in his last 8 games.
There you go.
So,
yeah.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say those two are line mates.
Yes. Yeah. It's good. It's good. Assumption.
I'm a detective at heart, but yeah, this Panthers team, man, not only are they scoring, not only are they finding ways to keep the puck out of their net, but they're mean too, man. They play a snarly game of hockey, and man, they're fun to watch. If you're not watching Florida Panthers games, maybe you're like, you got something against them. No, get that out of here and go tune into some of their games, man, because they're a heck of a lot of fun to watch. Like that game, going back to obviously what I'm watching with the Ottawa Senators, and they beat the wheels off Ottawa 5-0. But not only that, there was like 10 line brawls during the game, and Chuck almost got into it. Like that's Florida Panthers hockey, man. They're gonna come in, beat you down, beat you up. It's an impressive style, man, and Paul Maurice has them clicking. Like here in my market, I'm living in Winnipeg. It was one of those where it was almost like it was time to move on, and you see what's happening with Winnipeg. It's a kind of a win-win. They kind of shed the old skin, and now they're building their new one here. But same with Paul Maurice, man. Like it was getting a little stale, and he's such an and you've seen it in the Toronto market when he was the head coach there too, where it's like he's so good with the media, but then anyone, when it's too long, it's like, you know what, you need to change the scenery. And I think Florida's been the perfect landing spot for Paul Maurice.
It certainly has, man. Like he's got a lot out of that group, and a lot of them are really flourishing right now. And Bobrovsky too, he's been known for good year, bad year, good year, bad year, good year, bad year. He's having back-to-back pretty good years under Paul Maurice, isn't he? I mean, he's getting some wins this year and playing some pretty good goaltending. Like in a year where numbers are down for a lot of goalies, like he's still having a pretty decent season. Like 9-11 is an above average save percentage in the NHL this year. 245 goals against is, also above average. How about Anthony Stolarz? 11 games he's played, 923 save percentage, or 195 goals against. So like they're legitimately getting some real quality games out of both of their goaltenders as well. So that's definitely helping.
According to Money Puck, the goals saved above expected, they are the second best tandem in the league, because Boston's got the 8th and 10th in terms of Swayman and Ullmark in goals saved above expected. Bobrovsky is 12th on that list, and Stolarz is 15th.
There you go. Is that per 60 or is that total?
Nope, total.
60. Total. So in 10 games, he's 16th?
Yeah.
Sort by per 60. That means he's got to be up there.
And how many minimum games do you want me to put then? 10?
10, yeah.
6th.
I thought it'd be higher, to be honest.
The goalies ahead of him are Connor Hellebuck, Jonathan Quick, Charlie Lindgren, Aiden Hill, and Martin Jones.
Really? Thatcher Demko's not up there. Interesting.
No, Martin Jones is number 1.
Martin
Demko's
Jones is
ninth.
number 1? Hold on. Martin Jones is number 1?
In goals saved above expected per 60 minutes. Yeah, he's the only one above 1. He's at 1.045. Next best is 0.899. There's a topic for you tomorrow, Locked On Leafs.
There's something to talk about on Locked On Leafs for sure. I wish I knew that yesterday. I was on overdrive and I was like, the reason why that somewhat surprises me is because the Leafs haven't given up a whole lot over the course of this 5 game. Like, they're just playing really good defense, and like the scoring chances are down, the high danger chances are down. So I'm actually kind of surprised to see him have such a high goal saved above expected. But I guess when you only allow 5 goals in a 5-game stretch, probably going to help out your number there.
It's going to happen now. Is Martin Jones going to be voted into the All-Star game? You were mentioning that the votes, they're not done yet. The All-Star game happening in a month in Toronto, but the Leafs are dominating the voting.
Yeah, let me pull it up. I got an email yesterday as of Tuesday afternoon what the numbers were for the All-Star game. Where did I get
I didn't even look at the Sens don't even deserve to send one All-Star.
I mean, I do agree with that. That's a conversation for another day. There's a lot of teams that don't deserve to have All-Stars that do.
Tom Wilson's going to the All-Star game. He's got... Anyways.
That's the one that honestly really bugs me the most is Tom Wilson. And someone was like, yeah, but he's from Toronto. So's Dylan Strome.
And Boone Jenner for Columbus.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, he's been hurt all year. So currently leading in skaters. So they're taking the top 8 skaters, I believe. So Nylander is leading the list as of yesterday. Voting concludes this Thursday. So you only actually have like another 24 hours to vote before they announce the winners. So Nylander, Cale Makar, Leon Drysdale, Elias Pettersson, Mitch Marner, JT Miller, Brock Besser, and then Artemi Panarin's technically the 8th, but apparently he is not.
I think his wife is due to give birth.
Yeah. So I think he's not going to be there regardless. That's why they sent Shesterkin as their nominee for the Rangers. So Mikko Rantanen will be the next guy up in Colorado. Right after him is Hyman, Riley, and Tavares. So 3, guys who are beloved in this Toronto market. So if you want those 3 to get into the All-Star game, go vote. You've got till Thursday night to vote these guys into the All-Star game. So, or whoever you want to see there. Luke Hughes is actually the next up after that, funny enough, which I think is kind of wild.
Yeah, it is. Well, go get your votes in for now, and next week we'll discuss who the All-Stars are as we are inching closer to All-Star Weekend in Toronto. But for now, we're going to pass it over to Power Rankings Thursday on Locked On NHL. For more from us, check out Locked On Ottawa Senators, Locked On Maple Leafs, and Locked On NHL, your team every day.